Hello guys, and welcome to another AE2 tutorial video. Today we're talking about Certus Quartz, the new system implemented from 1.19. We don't have the old seed system anymore. We don't grow them in water like we used to, although water is involved still, but it's a quite new system and it resembles the amethyst crystal growing process that we know from vanilla. But this is slightly more advanced and we can do more fun stuff. But let's start from the beginning. How do you find a meteorite? Well, as you can see, I have a compass in my hand, simply crafted from a regular compass and then put in a charger, and charger is easy to build. And when you are too far away, this needle will spin slowly, and then if you start to move and get closer to a meteorite site, then it will aim towards it, and when you're on top of it, it will spin like crazy. A previous site I went to was actually out in the middle of the ocean, and even though I dug down deep underground, I couldn't find anything, so perhaps they don't spawn there. If that happens, just move on to the next site. There are many. Once you reach it, I suggest that you bring along a silk pickaxe. You don't need to, but I think it's a good idea. I brought a regular silk and a fortune one. And you'll also break some skystone. These are used for various recipes and devices and blocks. So mine some while you're here. So, and when you get inside, I prepared this already. You will actually find a mysterious cube in the center. If we break that one, you will get a few neat, good to have things. These presses will be used later on, but not in this video. So let's remove these. But here we have what we came for. These different Certus Quartz blocks. They are called budding blocks if they are above the lowest tier. So as we can see here, there are 5 in total from the basic one, and then in different tiers: damaged, shipped, flawed, and flawless, which is the best one. And if you see one, they are not in every meteorite. Be careful, don't break it. Only move it if you have other mods or a spatial storage system. I think, yeah, here we have one. Because once you break them, you will lose a tier. But let's go through this in order. Just be careful, remember that. So the whole idea with collecting these and bringing them home is to grow these clusters of crystals. And they will grow by themselves. You don't need to apply any power or anything, though it's much faster to do that, so we will do it later. But they will slowly grow, and then you can harvest them. And every time they grow one step, and this is valid now and later, there's a risk of these budding blocks to decay. So if you take a look at this flawed ones, which is the second highest here, we have an 8% chance to decay into the next lower tier when we grow a crystal. And that means going from small to medium and to large and so on. However, the flawless one will not decay. So if you find one, then you don't need to automate as much as we'll do later. This is kind of the best find in the meteorite. I don't know how common they are. I didn't see one earlier, and in my other worlds I have broken up like at least 5 of them and no flawless. So I would guess they are quite rare. But then you don't need to worry about decay, as long as you don't break it with a tool, even if it's a silk touch. So when you break a flawless, it will turn into a flawed. And if you break a flawed, it will turn into shipped, and so on. If you break without silk, any of these, they will turn into the basic Certus Quartz Block. Once you find these, then I suggest break them. If you can bring a fortune pickaxe with you if you want to, if there are fully grown clusters. Otherwise, use the silk and gather these. And all of the ones except Flawless, you can probably bring them along. Damaged, Flaw, Certus. You can see they turn into different ones. So the shipped came from the Flawed, and then these damaged went into Certus. So this Flawed will get another shipped and another Flawless. This is amazing. Anyway, when you have a few of these, bring them home with you, leave the rest for later, and let's jump into the next world where we will continue this. I think that if you break all of them, well, this is a creative world, so let's break them just to show. You can see it turned into Flawed, and I wonder if we do that on all of them. Yeah, then the compass will aim towards the next site. So that's good to know. That's everything you need to do to get to the next. Okay, let's switch worlds. Okay, so this is the build we'll take a deeper look at. This is the automation of growing crystals, and to handle the decay of this budding block, we will automatically break it and recharge it, because I didn't mention that before, to get them from a lower tier up to a higher one. If you take a look at this base lowest tier, throwing it into water with a charged crystal will take it to the next tier, which is damaged. And the same thing with damaged. With one crystal, will make it into a shipped, and then up to Flawed. But we cannot make a Flawless. We cannot craft them, they can only be found and then moved. So again, remember that. So to demonstrate the build, here I brought a few back. We have actually one Flawless here, and we have a Flawed and two shipped. So if we start to grow like this, they will grow in each direction where you have an open space. I prefer to do in one direction, unless it's a Flawless one. For the other ones, in one direction only, because otherwise you will have growing in two ways, and then if it turns into the basic, the lowest tier, you need to break it and you will lose the buds as well. Okay, so here we have that quickly. We got 4 full ones. So let's demonstrate with a basic pickaxe. We'll get 4 crystals, and that you will get that every time. If you use a silk touch, you will actually get this cluster. So that's not really useful. You should use a fortune pickaxe. Let's see, we have 8, and now we got 5 out of that, and 6 out of that, and so on. So use fortune both with if it's a pickaxe or if it's an annihilation plane, they should be enchanted with fortune. Now let's take a look here what's going on. We have the Flawless is still Flawless, of course. And this is shipped, and this is damaged now, and this is shipped. So they are decaying quite rapidly. You remember that's an 8% chance per growth, I think. But at the same time, we'll get a lot of crystals. So shipped, damaged. I want to show what happens when we get to the lowest. And it actually took a while. You see I have almost 2 stacks of crystals, but this one has finally decayed into the lowest tier. And that means that this bud will not grow anymore. Not at all. However, this Flawless will still continue to produce, of course. So once it reaches that state, you really need to replace it and recharge it. So let's move into that phase now. Now we have showed that you can break them easily and you work with them. Now let's try to automate and recharge them. Recharging is quite simple. I have made only one recipe, and I should mention that this is my first build. Maybe you find a better way to do it, or I find a better way to do it. This is the first one I'm running, and it runs fine, perfectly fine. You only need lots of power, and then you'll get lots of crystals. That's how simple it sounds, at least. My recipe to charge them, though, is here. We produce one flawed, that's the highest tier we can craft, with one damaged, that's 2 steps down, and 2 charged crystals. So, and I'm doing it in 2 steps. Perhaps you don't need to have 2 water blocks. One might be enough. I use that anyway. So what I have here to continuously craft and make sure that we always have flawed ones. I have a crafting card upgrade, and I keep 5 in stock, and you can see that I have 5 in here. And it's just a storage bus. You have probably seen this before. It's an old trick to keep automatically a stock. And here you can see that I have 5 damaged in here, but they will not turn into these flawed unless we use them. So that will keep a steady stock of blocks in here. So I have this green network, very small, always online, as I've done this. I import flawed, and then this formation plane is configured to place as a block. So if we have a free space here, then we'll place a new block, and that will use up one of these, and one more will be automatically crafted and sent here. So what's the next step? Well, next step is, of course, to break the bud, the cluster here, into quartz, and you can see Fortune 3. So right now it's not doing anything. This device is offline. This pink network is connected over here. You could have it online at all times. That's perfectly fine. That means that once it will grow, and that will happen very slowly, as mentioned before, it will be broken even if we don't need it. But I turned everything off because I felt that 500 was a good number, and we have more than we need right now. And to break this budding block, and now remember, this is flawed. When we decay 1 step from flawed into shipped, and we break it with a silk enchanted annihilation plane, it will decay 1 step. Otherwise, it will be broken into basic Certus Quartz, and that means that we can't make any difference of what tier we're in. If we don't have a silk touch, you will break anything we place here directly into Certus Quartz. So what I do here is that I have this, as I said, silk touched, and this storage bus is configured for damaged. So that means flawed will decay into shipped when growing buds, and when breaking shipped, it will turn into this damaged quartz, and that's what we store here. We're not storing basic, we're not storing this. That's why nothing happens. Well, now it's turned off, but it wouldn't happen anything otherwise either. Also, Certus Quartz Crystal for this Fortune one. That means that if we break these small buds, if I break, let's see, yeah, with a Fortune one, and if I break this, it will go into dust. And that's true for all sizes except for the largest one. And if I configure this to Certus, then it will not break the smaller variants. And I think that's pretty much all the parts of it. We have this level emitter. As long as we are above 500, we're fine. But if we're below, we'll turn a redstone signal on, and that will turn this toggle bus on. That means turning on the accelerators, so things will grow faster. We turn on the braking plane, and we turn on the braking. The placing is actually always online, but you could maybe have that as a part of the network as well. Okay, let's demonstrate this by removing, let's say, a stack. And there you can see it blinked. That's because the emitter turned this toggle bus on, and that made kind of an update to the network. So of course that's optional. And now we're growing very fast. We can see the flawed one here. We're getting small, and there we decayed one step. That means breaking it and replacing a flawed, so we can grow a few steps. And perhaps this isn't optimal. Perhaps we should have it in several steps before breaking it. But this is what I had working, and then you can probably figure something out. And once we break it, we'll take one from here. So let's keep an eye on that. Once we placed one, that means that we need to order. That's the charged. And we threw it in here. Here we have the new flawed one, and then we'll place it back in here. You can see where this is the crafting monitors that we can use to kind of monitor this build. Once it breaks, they will turn on, and that charger will charge up 2 of the crystals and send everything here. Oh, perhaps it's turned off. No. Okay, did it stop working or just stop growing? Bad luck with ticks right now, I guess. So it's still random. The more accelerators you have, the faster it is, but it's still random how often it will tick. There we broke, and we have one ordered, everything going automatically and fast, but sometimes they decay really fast and you need to craft 3 at the same time. And with that demonstration, I think we have covered everything. I hope we have. Yep, I think so. So no more seeds. We can also do the Flawless crystals. They are crafted quite easily now in the same the same water, but no seeds growing. So it's a bit simpler these days. Just remember that this one needs to be dropping them as items and not placing them as blocks. And you have seen this before. All right, I hope that's it. If you have any questions, comments, you know where to leave them. And as always, I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. So take care, and bye-bye.